Today's gospel makes us think about disasters, catastrophes, which can strike any of us at any time. Here in Florida, we all know about sinkholes. Won't be very few months go by before we'll hear about another sinkhole here in Central Florida. You might know when you're driving around Winter Park along Denning Road there, there's a lovely lake. Well, before a house stood there, until one day the lady of the house felt a little movement. And she grabbed a few possessions, but before day, the sinkhole had swallowed up her house. A lifetime of memories gone. In our first reading, the prophet Koheleth tells us that life is unfair. We work, we sweat, and then in a puff, it's all gone. Vanities of vanities, he says. It's like chasing after the wind. But do we have any other choice? Do we not have to provide for ourselves? Do we not have to be prepared should some disaster strikes us? Well, the answer is, of course we do, and that takes money. And indeed, the person without a savings account is indeed the foolish person. Suppose we're laid off. Let the economy slow down, unemployment goes up. Suppose your job gets automated, workers replaced by robots. Highly skilled, trained, experienced, and out of work. For a few weeks we get that unemployment check, but then that stops, unemployment stops. But the landlord, the mortgage company, they still want their money. No supermarket starts handing out free food. No doubt about it. Better have some savings, a family emergency fund. Or suppose we get sick, that pesky pain that just won't go away. Doctor checks it out, orders an operation, we're in the hospital. And even with health insurance, we have our deductibles and our co-payments. Better have some savings. Or take an everyday problem. One day that strange noise in the car, and we take it to the mechanic, and he finds out what's wrong and got a costly repair bill. No one's standing around waiting to pay our bills for us. It's up to us to set something aside for emergencies. Question is, after we take care of our needs for food and shelter and health and retirement, do we then become greedy? Jesus cautions, take care to guard against all greed. Paul told us in the letter to Colossians, put to death the greed that is idolatry. Well, let's talk about greed just for a moment. Remember the headlines of one newspaper article, the headline said, Naked Greed Succeeds. It was a good title because the article was about adult video business. The story was about making pornography films. Now we know that pornography appeals to our base side. It stirs our passions towards evil desires. It tells us lies about this intimacy of life. But did you know that people spend more money on porn than on any professional sport? Think of this. Porn makers spend little but make a lot. You can spend $50,000 producing a video film and you'll pull in $250,000. That's a 500% profit. It's the temptation to greed, making money from porn. But Paul warns us, guard against greed. Better to earn your money with honest work. It's greed that causes a brother and sister to bicker over their inheritance. One retired couple pledged a sizable gift to charity, and then they withdrew that gift. Why? Because their children heard about the gift, and the children were furious, angry because their inheritance was being given away. Now that's greed popping up. Children telling their parents what they can or cannot do with the money their parents have spent a lifetime earning and saving. The kids want the money. Jesus cautions us, take guard against all greed, and Paul told us greed is adultery. The rich man in Luke's gospel got greedy. His question was, how can I store up my great harvest? He said he'd build bigger barns, hoard the extra grain, keep it for himself. Christ says, wrong. Christ says, share your harvest. Store up riches in what matters to God. The first step is to learn the difference between needs and wants. The priest I knew owned only 2 pairs of trousers. And someone asked him about that, and he said, well, one's in the laundry, and I'm wearing the other pair. 2 pair. That's all I needed. Certainly we must dress well for work and for daily activities, but how many closets are stuffed full of clothes that we very seldom wear? We need to know the difference between need and want. We might adapt an ancient custom of some nuns. The sisters would take an annual inventory of all of their clothes and all their possessions. They would list how many dresses they had, how many scarves, how many books, everything. And then they'd ask themselves, do I need this? Do I need this many? And they would give away what they didn't need. Giving away, that's the way to store up riches in heaven. Another suggestion is to share. The opposite of greed is generosity. Each year, you might remember, we have a National Random Acts of Kindness Week. And the goal is to encourage people to do good deeds for friends, for neighbors, for strangers. Simple things like helping an elderly person carry heavy grocery bags. For National Random Acts of Kindness Week, people have reported cutting the neighbor's lawn, or sitting at having lunch with a coworker that usually sits alone, or at a restaurant paying for their own meal and then adding some money for a couple in the next booth there. Random acts of kindness might not change the world, but these acts of generosity do make the world just a little bit more like the kingdom of God. Trying to decide what to do with his bountiful harvest, the rich man thought, I'll build more barns to store my wealth. Christ says, no, share your good harvest. Store up riches that matter to God. As Christians, we buy what we need. We do random acts of kindness. You know, when Judgment Day comes, possessions are of no use. God won't ask you, how big was your bank account? God won't ask you how many rooms are there in your house. God won't ask you what model of car that you drive. The question is not, how can I store what I have? The question is, how can I share what I have?